Welcome to Oregon Outdoors. I'm Mark Freeman. Now this week we're doing something different. We're taking two what seem to be wildly divergent stories here on the Pacific Coast at the Oregon-California border. But they do have a theme, and that's putting the natural world and people together so it's safe for both. The first takes us to a colossal grove of some of the biggest coastal redwood trees ever seen, with a story about protecting a physically damaged environment from the people who love it. Lofty ideals? Perhaps. But for stories like this to happen, somebody has to think big and aim high. In this first segment, we're talking 300 feet high. We're in the Grove of Titans in Northern California's Jedediah Smith State Park, just over the Oregon border. It's a fascinating place with 3 of the 10 largest coastal redwood trees by volume ever discovered. Now many of these trees are more than 300 feet tall and likely well over 2,000 years old. That can really put things in perspective. Now the story of the Grove of Titans is almost as fascinating as the trees themselves. The grove is off Howland Hill Road near Gasky. It's easily accessed off Highway 199. That's why it's so weird that it took European settlers almost 200 years to find this place. So when they widened and fortified this trail, coming through here is a really fascinating spot. We've been already walking through some really big trees, but look around here, they're a lot smaller, like the oldest one's maybe 150 years old. You can tell why. Right along that ridge, you can tell there's a big slide through here all the way down to Mill Creek. I'm sure it wiped out all the big trees, and then a lot of these smaller, but still majestic redwoods took its place, but they're a lot smaller than the other ones. It's really fascinating how this entire place has grown up with itself. Now, the Native Americans from around here knew about this grove for generations, but it wasn't until 1998 that a couple of big tree hunters from Humboldt State University, one was a biologist too, they were walking here on Mill Creek Trail and discovered some of the biggest trees they'd ever seen. The location was a pretty well-kept secret until 2011. That's when a big tree hunter in southern Oregon published the grove's coordinates on the internet. And if you post it, they will come. Since then, thousands have trampled off trail into the secluded grove to great environmental peril. The sensitive duff became trampled and exposing the redwood's roots. Now these trees are huge and old, but they're fragile. They have shallow root systems to take advantage of some of the wettest places in the United States, right here. These trees also, interestingly, rely on coastal fog for moisture. But hundreds of people scrambling up the sides of these trees have obliterated the ferns that surrounded and protected them. In less than a decade, this grove was in serious trouble. So this is how even well-meaning people have been harming these trees.
Absolutely. So you can see the wear and tear. So when people are, they want their picture taken by these magnificent trees, and all the way up this tree, you can begin to see these wear marks to the bark. Well-intentioned, but we want to keep people away from the trees and protect these for generations to come.
And the walk here is impressive, but once you get to this grove, it's just so enamored by the majesty of these trees. And the fact that there's so many close together too. It's just, you look up in here and it just leaves you in awe. Remember, it took European settlers 200 years to discover the Grove of Titans. If it was that hard to find, imagine how hard it would be to build a trail into it. First, let's test your knowledge of big trees in the United States. While the Grove of Titans is home to some of the largest trees by volume, they're not the tallest in the U.S. Is the tallest A, a coastal redwood in nearby Redwood National Park in California, B, a Douglas fir in Oregon, or C, a Sitka spruce, also in nearby Redwood National Park? The answer is A, coastal redwood called Hyperion in the Redwood National Park. It stands 379.7 feet tall. Second place is the Sitka spruce, also found in Redwood National Park. It's at 328.7 feet tall. That barely out-edged a Douglas fir called a Dorner fir in Brummett Creek near Coos County, Oregon. It's third at 327 feet tall. And now you know. State parks officials could no longer ignore the grove. They had to embrace it. So in 2019, they started construction on this official trail that includes a 1,300-foot elevated walkway to keep boots away from the bases of trees and jut. Now, they did a lot of work when they rehabbed this trail, but one of the cool things they left was this natural tunnel next to this fallen redwood, and all this stuff has grown over the top over the decades and decades. It's pretty cool. Now that's what all this degradation we've been talking about. These ferns are stripped away, some of the bark is damaged, the roots are damaged, some of them are broken. It's really taken its toll. It puts a 2,000-year-old tree in peril, and that's why this is here. This is the coup de grace of this entire project, a 1,300-foot steel elevated walkway through the best of the Grove of Titans. Now it keeps my boots away from those roots, and both are better for it. So we've been following the creation of the new elevated walkway to the Grove of Titans for years, and you'd be amazed at just how much work it took to make this happen. The project is a collaboration of the California State Parks, Save the Redwoods League, National Park Service, and Redwood Parks Conservancy. So you're going to walk about 3/4 of a mile up the Mill Creek Trail, and this is where it gets interesting. This is where the elevated walkway all the way into the Grove of Titans begins. So building this is no easy task.
No, these plates are heavy. For a 20-foot section of walkway, there are 7 plates. Each one of those plates weighs over 200 pounds apiece. And all this is carried in by hand in our trail crews.
Wow. Who said trail crew work is easy, huh?
Yeah.
What's the challenges of building a trail like this in a place like this?
Well, we have to make sure we're careful with leaving a footprint. We're trying to build something for the public to come enjoy our beautiful office, as well as not damaging any further ferns or wetland plants or any of our beautiful redwoods we have.
A lot of this you've had to do on the fly, right?
Right. Come into next to these big redwood trees and we start digging just a couple inches and we find these roots almost the size of our bodies.
Yeah, the most beautiful office in the world.
Right.
This is exactly why this walkway is so vital to the viability of these trees and our ability to see them. This one's called Screaming Titans. it's got two big trees growing out of the same base, but it's also one of the most photographed, one of the most damaged trees in this grove. As you can see, all of these ferns that should have been going up 8 feet along this tree are almost all gone. It's from people scrambling up to take pictures. Don't do that.